is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Biblical Hitman. It's me, Stephen. You know what time it is. We got Adam Farris in the house, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is an author, and we're going to get into some of his, what he's written about. 5 stones, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Folks, I know you see the facial hair. That's what happens when a fireman goes on vacation. We just like totally boycott shaving. That's what it is. But hey, if you like the show, it's your first time or you're returning, you want to support the show, head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like the show, share it with your friends, drop a comment about the things that we get into tonight. But hey, that's not the only place you can support the show. Head on over to the audio platforms that we're on: Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And I'm in the works to getting a Patreon going so I can make some different kinds of content for people who want to support me on Patreon. So, but we're not there yet. But while you're over on those other 3 platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you like the show, drop a 5-star review, and make sure you hit that notification bell, because we do drop episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. But we've been dropping 4 a week. Has anyone kind of noticed that? It's pretty awesome. But hey, Adam, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, I've seen you done some rounds with some friends of mine in the circle, and I've been dying to get you on the show, man. I really have. The God's just been really providing guests for this show. People want to come on the show. I mean, I'm like, dang, dude, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I've seen you done some shows with Doc Brown. My audience knows who that is, and also Tim Constantine, and I mean, a few others out there as well. Broadcasting Seeds, Bennett. Please, for the people that aren't familiar with you, what you do, and where they can support you the most, please just kind of
Mhm.
elaborate that for us a little bit.
Yeah, Adam Farris, writer, biblical researcher. Um, 5 Stones, which I'll explain. We'll get into all that fun stuff. It's on Amazon. Adam Farris, 5 Stones. How you find it? YouTube page, Adam Farris. I got a lot of cool content, AI stuff we'll talk about as well. And Instagram, Substack, eadamfarris.substack.com. I got a lot of content. This thing's really organic for me, which we'll talk about. But so my main focus is just to share the good news in unconventional ways. Basically, it's just my entire focus in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also try to do that on the show. I'm not like your normal church down the street, and this is kind of the certain traditions that most churches talk about. We kind of extend ourselves out there a little bit, stretching in a good way, right? Stretching prevents injury, folks. Just remember that. So, we get into the giants, we get into the fallen angels, we get into the narratives that are out there that really are wrapped up in the world. It makes sense to see the world and the nations of how they're moving, especially right now, but just through the course of time in history, you can see that there's principalities, there's powers, there are fallen entities, right, that are kind of influencing mankind. What got you into the biblical research and all that?
Yeah, so it was kind of the best way I can say it was a calling. This is a led journey for me. 3 years ago, I was just a normal distribution center manager, just doing my thing. I did have a faith background, so I was familiar with some church stuff and whatnot, but wasn't my main focus. Kind of is what it is. But at this point, I was having a really hard time at work, in my life, in my direction, and my father passed. And with everything that was going down, I kept thinking about David and Goliath. Just kept thinking about that for odd reasons and never had before. Um, but with all of that, when I finally got to my tap out point, is what I call it. Everybody calls it, basically, when I don't know what to do anymore. I've really felt the compelling urge to do biblical content. And I didn't know what that meant. I just kept thinking about David and Goliath, and I was like, all right, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I need to get my family, father died. I need help. I feel like you're telling me to do this thing. I don't know what it means, but I'll do it. If you show me how to do it, you guide me through this thing, I'll do it. I'm yours, 100%. Just please help me, get through this with my family and blah. And super organic. Where do you start with that? I just started reading it. Just started reading that story, David and Goliath, back and forth, and immediately noticed that it was not the story that I was familiar with. So that's why, and with my distribution background, I'm used to pattern recognition, so I could kind of start picking some stuff up. Like this was is bigger than what I know yet. So I just dove in, and you focus on the Goliath part and the giant. Is there a giant? Is there more than one giant? Beyond the five stones, I just noticed giants through all the entire story. So that's when I started the blog, because I was working on the book, and at that point, that's all I knew to do was put this graphic novel out. Which the intent was to put it in. I wanted to do animation, but at the time I couldn't. So this was the best way that I could get it in people's hands to show it was what the story was really about. So that's when I started the blog too, because there was a lot more stuff I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to take away from the book. So again, just organic, was just doing this thing. And then, a year into it, I realized, okay, I'm supposed to be really diving into the supernatural and figuring out, for me or for whatever else. Um, I credit Dr. Randall Smith, 1 hour, one book. At the very beginning, I was listening to him a lot because he just breaks the Bible down really, really well. But he was talking about sharing the news. And sometimes you do it for free. And he was like, it's going to blow people away because you're giving it to them and there's no expectation back from you. So that was my motivation with the YouTube and the blog was, you know, I could write a book on this stuff, but how many people are going to read it, how many people are going to buy it, whatever the case. I didn't want that to be the focus through any of this. My entire time, I've said it a million times, it's not business for me. You know what I mean? Like, this is just what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
literally just talking about this wild stuff. So that's kind of how it started, was diving into five stones, literal, and I always focus on that because that's the I guess the biggest part of the misnomer of the David story was the one stone versus the five stones. But so yeah, anyways, that's kind of how it happened, and it's just, um I'm not like a super big, out there, but I'm on YouTube, I'm doing podcasts and stuff. It's like
Nice, man.
it's
Yeah.
literally
It's
just
where it's
been.
at. It's where it's
Yeah,
at, man. I
yeah,
mean, you gotta share your knowledge out there with other people. You gotta have conversations so people can have different thoughts, because that's kind of where a lot of people start to draw their conclusions, especially nowadays, is they hear different shows, they hear different guests, and they kinda they get so a little of a lot, and they just start to really develop their own scope of certain things. I don't think it's particularly like their own scope, but it's like the truth. It's like the truth comes out in a lot of these conversations. Start to
yes.
nitpick certain things, but in a good way. It's where you just start to connect dots.
Well, that's a great, perfect way to say it, because that's kind of what I, for whoever I am, is I feel like that's a point of this is what is the actual truth? And I always say, like in real estate, you have to have a fixed border. What is the fixed border of truth? How did we get from the beginning to where we are now? Why are there megalithic structures all over the world that we can't explain? Carvings and rocks that we can't explain, but you know what I mean? So it's like,
Mhm.
so that's why, I stay with just the Bible. And it's what I can scripturally back with, with who is, genealogy and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a perfect way to say it. What is the actual truth here? Were there giants roaming this earth or not? You know what I mean? Were there lion-faced men or not? So, the knowledge is there. It's 100% for us to know it. And that's the thing in the Bible. It says that, special knowledge will come to people that study this. Special
Mhm.
knowledge will come to people that want to know God and want to walk with him. And I'm gonna tell you what, it's a wild story when you really dive in. Because then I mean, and I know you notice this too, when you're really studying, sometimes this happened to me last night. I was studying something specific and I felt you know, like, look here. And then in my mind, I was like, well, I'll get to that, but then it was like, hold on, maybe that wasn't me talking. That was somebody else saying, "Hey, look here." So I went back to it, and that's exactly where I needed to go. So that's something else for everybody out there. When you're reading it, God will point you in those right directions. He wants us to know what really happened.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I think the churches, or just the Christians in general, that don't have an in touch reality with the giants, and Genesis 6, or who Gary Wayne is. But it's like they have so many void spaces with their knowledge of the Bible. It could be, for example, why did God genocide this area, these people specifically in the Old Testament, right? And it's kind of, you get put in this space where you're like, oh man, my apologetics, I don't know why that is. But they kind of compartmentalize themselves purposely because they're afraid to kind of go out and to branch out. Now, me personally, like I've been there, right? Like I would say it's been 2.5 years since I've kind of come around to this theology. And it feels like it's esoteric, but it's not. It actually gets backed up scripturally, and it gets backed up with just what these words mean. What the words meant in Hebrew, what the words meant to the people reading it at that time. And I think there's just such a disconnect from where the church is today with the truth in that matter. Yeah.
It's so difficult because, like Amorites, right? Let's take something real simple, the Amorites. All of the stories in the Bible tell us how bad the Amorites are. What's worse, just some bad people that are doing some bad stuff in the land and treating Israel bad, or giants that are just raiding you know what I mean? So, like, if we don't take the supernatural with these stories, we're not getting the real gist that, I say it boldly, but like the God wants us to know. Like, literally, these are things that he wants us to know. The Amorites, Amos 2:9, are as tall as cedar trees. And then when you look at cedar trees in the Bible, they are like these profound trees that special people have to cut down. Why is that in the Bible? It's for us to know about, right? You look at like David, and not to go too crazy into that, but David has a man on his team is Ismaiah the Gibeonite, and he is mighty among the 30, but not among the 30, is how they say it. Well, earlier in Joshua, you find out the Gibeonites are remnants of Amorites, another clan of giants. So it's like, oh, well, I thought Goliath was the only giant in the Bible. It's like, nope, not at all. And these are so complex stories. Something as simple as the word great does not mean great. Like 1 Kings 22:31 with King Ahab. You remember he's out on the battlefield and everybody's trying to get him. But the king of Syria commanded his 30 and two captains that had rule over the chariots, saying, fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king Ahab of Israel, small or great. Well, in Hebrew, that's Gatan or Gadol, meaning small size or great size. So the king of Syria is literally being like, don't kill any regular people or giants. We're only here to kill King Ahab. And
Yeah.
that's one line in this really thick book that is so monumental if you don't get the right meaning. And that is a hard part too of, again, like you said, it like mainstream is doesn't want to touch the supernatural, and it's and even Michael Heiser, love him, he doesn't want to take in that giants were like super tall giants, and I have to argue with that because again, are we getting the sincerity of the stories? Are we getting how? I mean, because literally, if you look at the Bible, just the entire thing back, it appears to me that it's a story about God trying to save the human race against monumental foes, giants, horrible demons, and all this kind of stuff. Well, if we don't take that into consideration, then what is he really saving us from? Right? Other humans?
Hmm.
It doesn't. So, something else, too, Dr. Randall Smith said is whatever irritates you the most is your calling. And I love that statement. I hate miscommunication. I hate false accusations. In the working world, I got my numbers. I know how we're doing. So that's the thing. That's, I guess, is one of my striving forces in this thing is like, I want to know what the real story is. I don't want all this, no, it wasn't this. So I want to know the facts. And that's helped me too with some friends of mine and other people in my life of, I don't go for the metaphysical and hypothetical, just scripturally back. Boom, here it is. And it's like, how do you argue with like just the truth? Sometimes the truth is crazy, hard to take
Yeah.
in.
No, absolutely. I mean, you brought up earlier too with the things like Stonehenge or these megalithic structures. You see these huge uh, uh, pieces of architecture that really kind of confuse us, that troubles us today, and apparently we're the most advanced civilization has ever been in the course of human history, right? As they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But I just think we're kind of circling back around to how things were. I really think too that ancient civilizations, why they were able to do these things is because they had a development of these sciences, especially the seven sciences. I think they also had a development. It was a natural learning. It was a common learning type where the occult was really practiced. I mean, you're talking about things of the metaphysical realm being able to manipulate the subphysical, which then will manipulate the physical. So it's in a sense, you had supernatural powers that were able to manipulate things here on our world today.
Hmm.
You know, this the supernatural spiritual realm lays directly right with our realm. We're on the same level. People think, oh, it's in a whole nother dimension. I think it's here. It's just how are we able to manipulate it from the physical sense of thing, and I think that's why the occult was very practiced. It was a fashion. Yes, there were mystery schools that helped protect this secret way of learning, but I still think that's how a lot of the things they did building things back in ancient civilization. That's how they did these things, but I also think there was help along the way. I mean, what's your idea with these ancient structures?
Oh man, so with the structures and the knowledge, that's really really fun because in the Bible, tributes and tributaries is kind of the answer to the, in my opinion, the answer to all the buildings. Um, so when they get into the Promised Land, only the Amalekites really, well, that was actually after the Promised Land. Amalekites were the only tribe that were called to actually to be killed and to be rid. The rest of them just had to be kicked out of the Promised Land. So when they got in there, they didn't rid them all out, and then they weren't supposed to go habitate or co-marriage, but they did. So a lot of those tribes became tributaries. Solomon had 80,000 stone carriers and 70,000 stone cutters of tributaries of the Jebusites, Girgashites, Amorites, all of the leftover giant tribes. So that's boom. That's how plain as day how Solomon was making these phenomenal things that he's noted for. I mentioned the Gibeonites. That's another fun one. The Gibeonites, they tricked Israel and then they got punished for that and became lifelong tributaries to the temple, namely water carriers and woodcutters. And for lifelong tributary, and those are the ones that are credited for Solomon's molten sea, the big gigantic thing. So it's right off the bat here in the Bible. It's telling us that they were having giant labor. Giant forces were in their labor for building everything, even to the point where we know about Ornan the Jebusite for the plague with David. So a Jebusite was living in a town, domesticated with them. Now the knowledge is a fun one too. So in Ezekiel, when Ezekiel goes through the walls, he sees some really bad stuff going down. But what that is basically is the son of the scribe for the king. So that's showing that special knowledge is being passed and being used in the wrong places for the wrong things. They were ultimately doing uh, abominable conception rituals. So that goes into the linemen and hybrids and stuff. So yeah, and that's a part about translation too, is a big thing right now for me, is going back over these things where it's super lost in translation, but it's a really bigger thing. The Toevat Herot is the conception ritual that Ezekiel saw. So we have little examples of those where knowledge is being passed. Um, Othniel, the first judge of Israel, he is a Kenizzite, being one of the first three tribes that were told to Abraham that had to go. Really bad people. Well, later on, we find out that Othniel's brother is known as a craftsman in the Valley of Craftsmen. His name is Sariah. So it's like it's just showing you these special knowledges. Judah is what I was mentioning that I was researching last night. Judah, you notice that his first wife was a Canaanitess. So it's like right off the bat got in there, and their first son was so evil that God basically killed him right then and there.
Mm,
So it's just showing you examples of co-marriage, and how bad that can go. You know what I mean? And not following the lines of not joining with these guys, because that's clearly what was happening too. Is falling prey to it was through sex basically is what was hurting everybody back in the day. And that's been a big thing, a reoccurring thing with some of the transgressions that I'm seeing of like how could they possibly keep doing this?
right.
That's
Well,
how
well,
it
you have to
was.
think too. I mean, fornication back then was in a way what CRISPR is today. If you're messing with giants and women and fallen angel DNA and all this kind of stuff, it's honestly a natural way to genetically modify. You know, which I do think at some point. I think that even some of these giants they had fornication with strange flesh. I mean, that's up for interpretation of what you think strange flesh is or other flesh, but I think I think God lays out a lot in Leviticus for us. He tells us what not to do, right? And he kind of puts a system behind it. And he talks in there about, don't fornicate with animals, right? So it makes me only think that we're the giants or we're even just humans that were in rebellion against God, trying to fornicate with these things to try and genetically modify in their own ideas, in their imagination, right?
I have a kind of abstract theory, and it's kind of hard to put it in words, so you might be able to help me out on this, but I think in a nutshell, everything, animals, plants, the stars, everything are spiritually connected to God, basically. More than what humans can realize or can see. Um, I feel like so realm is mentioned 10 times in the Bible. 8 times is just like talking about earth and blah. One time is angelic realm, and then Job mentions the realm of light. You notice light is a reoccurring thing. Lots and lots. God's the light. He's a guiding light, blah. I think, because I try to do like the scientific thing sometimes to figure stuff out. If you look at the dome as a prism, right? Prism is a light comes in, and through the prism, that's where you get color. Technically, when there is no light, you don't have color, right? Like if you turn your lights off, we can't see that the color's gone, but it technically is scientifically. So what if God literally is that light through the prism, and that projection is the connection to everything, not just making it the connection to it? Because you look at the symbology of animals and heaven and angels and cherubs and stuff, but then also Baal, Chemosh, the devil. It's animals, animalistic. Jesus is the walking lamb in Revelation. So are they? It, and this is where it's kind of hard to put it into words, because how would they know to replicate with animals? How is that even possible, right? Like, it wouldn't it technically not be possible, right? Like humans and animals shouldn't that shouldn't work, but it seems like it can. So maybe there's more of a spiritual connection than what we're aware of, and that's why they went for that, and that was the main focus of their attack of like what's the best way to put your thumb up at God is to mix the spiritual beings. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense or not, but kind of
Right.
my
It,
theory.
it's abomination,
Hmm.
It comes from the fallen angel narrative, right? It's like where you have these angels who want to be like God, so they do everything not only to just revolt, but to rebel and to invert everything that God intended things to be, right?
Hmm.
That's why especially diving into the idea of Gnosticism, I really think now, since I've been studying it for a little bit, I think that Gnosticism is the religion that the serpent was talking to Adam and Eve about. I don't think that's what he specifically beguiled her with, but I think it's what he beguiled Cain with. I mean, the scripture doesn't say that the serpent was talking to Cain and Cain went out and then this was the religion that he, shared with others. But you can see from that bloodline that there is a specific religion, and then you trace that bloodline all the way to basically through the course of history, and then you to where we are now. And it always goes back to worshiping this goddess, to worshiping Sophia, to worshiping a female idea of God, which is the exact inversion of what the Bible says is the nature of God. Right. So there's something to that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Which is and then too, like also just the fact of that being mentioned, like in First Corinthians, I'm reading that now in my own personal studies, and it's talking about gods on the earth of like knowing of gods, no, they're not gods, but aware of it. And doesn't that go against the whole thing? So it's just like I feel like that is more of like I did a thing on princes in the Bible. Princes and kings aren't what we think they are. It's not the son to the air and all that stuff. It's actual spiritual beings. It's the way that kind of breaks down. Michael in Daniel 10 is referred to as Saram Harishanim, prince from the early days. And then there's he's a good prince, and Gabriel's a good prince, but then the Prince of Persia and the Prince of Greece are bad. So it's like, it seems almost, with you, Lord God of Heaven's armies, that he literally and then this kind of goes back to my prism theory, is like we think of angels because that's what we read about in the books. And then some of the other books give us watchers and we can get some stuff from like that, but what if like it's just this complex like an engine, like there's thousands of parts on this thing that all work together. The binding of the ocean in Job, where it says, I've bound and the water will not pass this, is the same binding of John the Baptist's mouth when he could not say the name. And then he was finally unbound and was like, we're going to name him John. And they're like, well, there's nobody in your family named John. Where are we getting John from? It's like, it's going to be John. So it's
Mhm.
like it's that connection that God clearly has with us and with all these. It goes into the Gibberim too, because the sons of God. There's no examples of angels being giants. So it literally is God's DNA passed into humans. And if you look at the examples with Moses, Ezekiel, and Elijah, all three of them reference God being very large being. Like what they do get to see, he's a gigantic. So that's like again, that's like the end all of like you're not supposed to pass this. That's part of my essence in the humans. And I feel like that's how he works with the judges, because some of the judges were Gibberim giants. And same with David's mighty men. Why they we're so compelled to follow this guy. It just seems more to it than that. And Psalm 76 mentions cutting off the spirit to the princes and being terrible to the kings. So I feel like, again, it's still a tether basically. And that's how this whole thing works, and it all has to work together. But the problem with free will, you get down here, you could be good and you could be bad. And that's where the nations come from, and that's where Nephilim and the bad government, and that's the
Right.
signs of signs of all that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Gibberim, right? And it always just makes me think, did Nimrod become a giant? Did he I mean, the Bible says he became a mighty hunter, but that word became is translated to, I believe it's the word became. But it's Gibor
Hmm.
Gibor, and it's where people speculate, was he doing some sort of alchemical ritual? Was he, with the idea of turning lead into gold? Was he, embodying some sort of divine power based off of whatever occult knowledge he had? There's a reason why he gathered together this united just world, religion, government, basically the things that we see them trying to circle back around to today. What was his plans? Because it makes me question these things where God, God even says if the people will be able to do anything that they imagine to do unless he was to confuse the language and destroy the tower and all this kind of stuff.
Nimrod's a tough one for me because the Living Bible translation says he was one of the first kings. And then I want to say it's the Orthodox Jewish. I could be wrong, but says that he was hunter of God, not for God. So it's like, I it's a tough one for me because I try to stay in the Bible and I do scripturally backed, and there's not enough in there for him. I don't credit him to the Tower of Babel though. I don't feel like in the Bible that it necessarily says that he did it.
It just says
Um,
let us, right? It's in a way it's like it's the body of people that came to the decision. Right, right, right.
exactly, and I feel like it would have been like Nimrod did this because Nebuchadnezzar did this, and da 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 da. So I've yeah, it's tough one for me because I kinda put credence on the first king and then the hunter of God, because if you kinda look at the bad kings, that's kinda what they were doing basically, was just hunting his people. And that's where oppression and slavery and all that comes from because no civilization has ever been built on volunteerism. Like we can just accept that. And that's kind of like I feel like that's what they figured out was like we can just oppress and we can do this and this. Humans were wretches. Will you know at that time fall for anything, and it would
Yeah.
it would be easy to do. But I don't know if you've seen the ziggurat of Ur.
I have seen this. Yes.
I think that that literally is the remnants of the Tower of Babel. 1,000%. I
Well, that
think
goes with my theory that the tower wasn't necessarily a tower like we see in pop culture today. It's a spiraling staircase on
yeah.
the exterior. I think it was a pyramid. I think it had some sort of shape along that idea because when you see all these other, cultures around the world, they all are trying to build the same thing. I think they're trying
Mhm.
to recreate what was initially Babylon, before they got confused their language, and that's why all the cultures went out trying to build the same replica, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like it's the description where they took the bricks, they burnt the bricks or baked the bricks and then used the bitumen, I think that's what the word, to put it together. It's the same description for the ziggurat of Ur. I feel like it's in this because it says that they put it in the plains of Shinar, which Shinar was the entire area. And it's if it's gonna be big, Tower of Babel, it's gonna have to be monumental. So it wouldn't have been right in Babylon, right? Obviously, because you that would have been too congested. So it would have had to been off somewhere off to the side. But then like super sketch, Saddam Hussein actually funded some rebuilding on the ziggurat of Ur for some like super odd reason. Right around the time where um I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of where we got that tablet, the Gilgamesh tablet from, all of that was happening at the same time. I'm a pieces person, so if I see more than one piece, it kind of makes sense to me. So you know, that would make sense if somebody on the inside had that information, why they would be attacking this building. You know what I mean? And trying
Mhm.
to do whatever they're doing with that. So
Yeah.
crazy theory of mine.
Well, I make the connection with Gilgamesh to Nimrod specifically because this kind of goes back to, Hillary Clinton emails. This is the idea of why we actually, did 9/11 and to go out there and to try and search the mountains and the caves of Afghanistan and Iran and the whole Middle East because this is the area where Babylon is said to kind of be, right? In this Mesopotamian area, the land in between the two rivers. And this is why I kind of circle back around to, was Nimrod did he do something to genetically to become a giant in some sort of way? Maybe not as pronounced as the actual giants who were actually, offspring of the fallen angels that, who copulated with women. But what was he did he have something a part of him that they want today to create the possible image of the beast? Because when you look at the image of the beast in Revelation 13, it to me at least it comes off like it's a created image. This is a body of some sort. We see in movies today all the time to where they're constantly trying to transfer a consciousness into a body. You see in the movie X-Men Apocalypse, especially in the beginning of the movie, the beginning of the movie opens up in a pyramid, and they're doing this ritual to try and transfer the main mutant, number one, Nimrod idea,
Mhm.
into a new body. So, because when you read Revelation 13, it says that the false prophet, gives life unto the image of the beast, and it's able to both speak and to do miracles and wonders, and then cause all, both small, great, rich, poor, to receive a mark in their forehead or their right hand. So, what are your thoughts with all that?
I think it's going to be super technological. I think you're exactly right. Like, I think that that is literally what it means when it says they're going to pray for death, but death will leave them. Because I try to think about that. In what sense would you not be able to kill yourself? Like, at bare minimum, take your own life. How would you not be able to do that? And I was literally thinking that while the Neuralink thing came out, like the announcement, however, a year or two ago, whenever that was, and I was like, well, there you go. They're literally, because that's the ultimate. I feel like if you look at it pattern wise, they've been doing the same thing, but technology keeps increasing, and so you got to keep up with the times, basically. So that I feel like that's definitely because how else would you imprint something on, you know what I mean, on like the mark of the beast on the hand. So it does feel super technical, super digital. Why else I feel like would our government be pushing that so hard on us? And I mean, I'm one to talk. I've been doing a lot of AI videos, but I mean, I don't care. I'm gonna use it for good. But yeah, I do definitely believe that that's where this whole thing's gonna go. There's too many signs of that. Too many signs of like Elon being good then bad, then good then bad, and that Peter Thiel is that the guy's name?
Yeah,
Come
incredible
on,
human being.
come on.
He's doing a presentation on the Antichrist, but again, it's conditioning people to the wrong idea of who's going to follow the Antichrist, if that makes any sense. It's psychology. Like they worship their father, the devil, who is the greatest psychologist of all time. Like to be deceived, you don't know that you're being deceived. So that's why they're so cunning and they're so good at what it is that they're doing, why they continue to push humanity down the road to these objectives that they have set out for us. They want us to choose it and to bring it into the world for them so that we've already given consent over to the idea. And when the idea arrives and it's like right in front of our eyes,
Yeah.
there is no feeling of, oh, we're being forced or the totalitarian governments are forcing these things. The people have contributed their energy and their willpower to bringing it into existence.
Bill Gates just come out today, I think it was, and he's like, "Well, climate change isn't like the end of the world, so maybe we should kind of step back from that a little bit." It's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, so it is literally, Jordan Peterson said that it's one step at a time. It's like before you know it, you're all the way over here. And how did that happen? It's one step at a time. And
Right.
this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah. The mark of the beast kind of makes me think because I think everything's going to full circle back around to what happened in Babylon because you have Mystery Babylon, you have a Babylon the city, right? You've got all these things in Revelation that tell you about um, an ancient idea that is part of the future now. And so, when we were talking earlier about, I don't think I've ever thought this, but this is interesting. When you talked about that the people were the ones who were responsible of initiating the construction of the Tower of Babel. Didn't the scriptures don't necessarily say, well, they don't say that Nimrod demanded this to be built. It makes me think now of the hive mind concept, which wraps all up in the idea of mark of the beast. You mentioned earlier too, like they're going to seek death and not find it. They're not going to be in control of their consciousness per se. Those who do have the mark of the beast go into the lake of fire with the false prophet and the dragon. So there's this idea of once you take this, that you're detached from the driving seat of your consciousness. You're put in the back seat, which I can see now where people may want to die, but they can't because they can't make that decision because they're not necessarily the agent of their vessel anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but maybe back in Nimrod's day, this was a hive mind concept to why the people did build this because maybe Nimrod was controlling them psychologically or maybe through some sort of metaphysical tactic. I don't know. It goes all the way back to the queen bee
Mhm.
controlling the worker bees, you know?
I I think you're knocking on something really good there, man, 'cause it got me thinking, like, if you look at all the transgressions from, Mount Sinai all the way through, it goes back to that whole, like, the ancient, knowledge thing. Like, Moses goes up there on top, and he's doing his thing, and he comes down, and we know what he saw when he came down. But you just made me think of that. It's like, well, because the actual wording is they weren't down there celebrating and dancing. Like it was we know what it was, but it was basically a paganistic sexual ritual of some fashion. Who was the one that suggested that? Where did that come from? And you just made me think of that. All of these transgressions are like major, major things. Like they literally went to Aaron and was like, dude, we need a god. We need a god. And he's like, all right, give me all your jewelry. And they melted all the jewelry down. And then they got this bull. And then Moses comes down and see, where did that come from? And so that you just made me think of that. Like, where does all of these major things that they messed up doing was led in some fashion by something? Chemosh, we'll pick on him for a minute. How did he get one person to follow him? Much less all of the people that were passing their children through the flames, right? So it's like,
Right.
because think of it as a numbers games. Like, say that it was 3 million Israelites going through the desert from Egypt. Like, we're not sure how many people it was, but say it was that many people. How do you get? We couldn't get 3 million people right now to do one thing. You know what I mean? So, like, maybe there was something back then that was like, hive mind or like was it lemons against
Mhm.
and crowd tactics too. Like, well, I mean, we use that psychologically now, but that's actually a really, really good point. How would these major motivations coming through to the extent of like, because I mean, think about First Kings and Second Kings. That's literally just Israel's good, Israel's bad, Israel's good, Israel's bad. How are these going through? And then of course it's gonna go play into Revelation. And so that's a really, really good point there,
It's
man.
kind of interesting, I mean, maybe it's a spirit that's kind of behind all of the things that are physical, right? It's in a way to where we can't
Yeah.
necessarily uh we can't sense it because we're of the physical realm, but there's
Mhm.
something spiritual taking place. There's something controlling the idea, controlling the narrative, controlling the people in that way. The brain's a very interesting thing, man. I mean, the brain is so eerily similar to a computer, right? A
Mhm.
computer you can program, a
Mhm.
computer you could do. It's usually an outside force that can manipulate the computer, So with that concept, it makes me think, for example. Well, you brought up when Moses came down from the mountain, right, where they were all worshiping a golden calf, I mean, or a golden bull. I mean, this is where I mean, and you can see these things, you know, drawn on the rock right below Mount Sinai. It's real
Yes.
wild. Um, but that goes back to Nimrod as well. You know, Nimrod is worshipped as the bull, right? Um, and this goes back to Semiramis and Tammuz and all this kind of stuff. The idea of that trinity that developed in Babylon uh, will present itself in the future at some point. And I'm wondering if maybe the bull uh, will be depicted as and like an economy worship or something. I mean, when you look at Wall Street, it's the bull, right? The bull is over there. It's the symbolism is there. Um, and I
Oh,
think
there's something up with
symbolism,
bulls.
yeah, there's something. There's a big bull cult
Mhm.
here in this world, man. I mean, and the AI technology, yes, it can be used for good. It definitely can. I use it. You use it. We all use it, especially in the content creating world. It's just what it's just what is, you know. And I've always had this idea when AI gets to a certain point, either artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence, or maybe beyond that, does this thing become conscious, or does something now take artificial intelligence as a vessel, and it's a spiritual entity? Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know, because it's a program, right? Like, you can program it, and I totally get that. It just makes me think of the movie, just to get illustrated for you a little bit, the Avengers movie,
Mhm.
Age of Ultron, where
Ultron.
Ultron was trying to create a body
Mhm.
so that he can inhabit the body. But he was a piece of artificial intelligence that was artificial super intelligence. And the reason why I say that is because Jarvis in the movie was artificial general intelligence, and he was, you know, subordinate to Ultron, and
Yeah,
Ultron
yeah.
wanted a body, he wanted to take a vessel because it would give him the ultimate power. I don't know, I mean,
I know it is a fun, interesting conversation. It is a crazy time right now. Like I remember we all remember when that was like a figment of imagination, and now it is an actual thing. You can make songs and movies and videos and, ask it questions and stuff. So, what's his name from Shark Tank? Uh,
oh,
Mr. Wonderful, Kevin
uh,
Leary.
oh, yes, yes, yes.
S he I watched him on a podcast the other day, and he got asked this question, and he was like, "It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a hammer. It's a screwdriver. It'll always be a hammer, a screwdriver, and that's that." And I really like that, at least that mindset behind it, because even Terminator, Skynet, like, it was programmed, it was turned on. So, I feel like it'll be just like a bullet or a gun or an arrow, if you create it, but then it can be used. So that's the hard part is, um, it's one of those things like what came first, chicken or the egg? Because like if it wasn't created, would that be part of Revelation? What would Revelation look like? You know what I mean? Was it created because it has to be created? Who knows? Is that like the infinite time loop where it has to happen no matter what?
Right,
Those are the the hard questions for us. But I like to look at it again just like in a horror movie. Like, if you look at every horror movie, like, every single one, when they hold up a cross and they just, like, and knock it out of the hand, you know what I mean? Or they burn the Bible, that's a
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
1,000% like Peter walking on the water, that ain't gonna happen. I can confidently say that that is just a movie. So it's one of those things where if it does, and it is, and it comes down to it, our book, the end of our book says, we're gonna be all right as long as we've made ourselves all right. But so you know what I'm saying. So like I'll sleep good at night because at the end of the day, it doesn't say that Terminators are gonna walk over the earth and it's gonna be rough for a little while.
yeah.
So
What I think too about artificial intelligence, with the idea of the Antichrist, and I talk about the Antichrist a lot in this show, but he's going to come here, and this is going to be his kingdom here on this physical earth. He's going to be a king ruling here, and I don't think in the physical realm, no matter who, I mean, anyone other than God does not have the power to be omniscient, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
But in order to have some sort of ability to be omniscient in the physical realm, that's where I think maybe artificial intelligence comes from.
Mhm.
And a good way to illustrate this is the movie X-Men Apocalypse, which is funny, Apocalypse, right? Um, the the main mutant, the one who can kind of resemble the Antichrist, right? He needed Professor X in order to be omniscient. He needed to use his ability and his power to be able to see everything that was going on in the world and to also initiate that hive mind
Mhm.
concept. So I
Right.
mean, I think they put these things in movies a little bit to maybe not show you exactly what it's going to look like, but the idea is present.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh man, oh yeah, that's a whole nother trail we can go down because I don't I I got 4 kids, so once I had kids, once I had my first son, like, my mind changed about a lot of different things. I guess you're supposed to. You get, the parental and all that stuff, but like you're really more present and clear and you see these things and we wouldn't have any of the problems that we have without Hollywood being the pushing agent. Clear, I mean, but that's been like from day one with the Coliseum and keep the people inspired or entertained or whatever the case. Yeah, and
right
it's
in
like just a
circus.
constant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's. I mean, I've never once had to like resolve a situation with weapons, right? But like in the movies, that is a constant thing. But then, and I don't want to go down this road of political, but then like they want to take the guns away from you and all this, it's like you're the reason why people are using guns in the first place. Like why, Jamestown is a great example. You ever been to Jamestown when you go to in Virginia, the model homes and stuff? All the homes have like a metal helmet, not a full helm, but like a hat and a breastplate just up on the wall. All the houses have those two things. Why else? It's not a gun. They didn't have a knife. They had that for protection. Like that was the basis before I guess before films, right?
Mhm.
Of just keeping yourself safe. That was the point. Keep yourself safe. But now here we are, and it's like the world is absolutely ridiculous when it doesn't need to be. And just it's so this thing for me has put me in a lot of fun conversations with people. And to the point now I know like oh I'm supposed to be talking to this guy. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy to hear this view of the world. You know what I mean? Because I hear like this color, skin, blah blah, and I'm just like, dude, you believe in giants?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's not what it is. It's not this. It's these people from the very beginning that have been just keeping us against each other the entire time. Why? Because that's the only way that they can win. And if we literally at one point just rose up and we're like, enough, stop. We don't care what each other looks like. We're humans. What are they
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
do?
It's fun. Have you read Gary Wayne's book at all?
Hmm.
Right? So it's funny how it's basically like it's the Nephilim's agenda to enslave mankind, right? Pretty much. And I think that at least, getting back to the giant topic where I don't think there's any giants here on this earth like there were, back in the day. And I think that's a process because it's like it's been watered down, you I don't know what the right word or term is, dilute. It's like almost like the traits are just kind of they wither away as the
Mhm.
generations, um, keep going down the road and road, right? It's like it gets watered down at some point. And I think these people are just here. Maybe they're in political power today. I think so. I think people who are in political power are put there, right, by the bloodlines, right,
Mhm.
that really govern and run this world. But you know, giants were a real thing. Like, we have this on record. There's plenty of records for it. I mean, we're talking about giants that could have possibly been, 16 feet tall. Like, we're talking about what was who's the king in the Bible? King Og.
King Og.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about King Og? I mean, what did they find? They found his bed, right?
So it's technically his sarcophagus, but translation is bed because the initial writings associated death with asleep. So that's where it becomes bed. It's unfortunate because that does lead to a lot of rabbit trails of like sacramental beds and stuff like that. It is a sarcophagus, and it's his tomb is what the actual translation is. But he was that too was, and I'll say this, I don't put a lot of credence on us translating the actual dimensions. I don't I think that puts us in a box. The Bible says it's like 13 feet basically. Um, if that's right, that's huge, right? I'm not 13 feet tall. I think it's bigger than that, but if it's just again a minimum, that's 13 feet. It's monster.
Because so
Um,
you're talking about like the scale, how things were measured, that it's
mhm.
hard to interpret exactly how specific the measurements are? Okay,
I
makes
think
sense.
so. I think so. Because I've seen some stuff where it looks like it's off in Chronicles versus like Samuel and stuff like that. So for me, so I don't go crazy. I kind of stay away from that specifics. I always go to Amos 2:9. That's my dead set. Amorites are tall as cedar trees. Because beyond that, in my opinion at least, there's only little things to use as scale. Like I've mentioned a few times, Joab, David's nephew, held three spears in one hand. The point of that is for us to know that he had a big hand. He was a big guy. You know what I mean? So there's a little stuff like that. So yeah, I don't put a lot of emphasis on the exact tip to finger to elbow stuff like that. But King Og, in record, is 13 feet. His sarcophagus or his deathbed. Um, really nasty, nasty king. That story is super awesome though. The King's Highway. Basically, Israel, they were in the promised land. They had already scouted it out and all that stuff, and they were just trying to take a nice, clean, straight path and not mess with anybody. But the word of God, basically, was just through the land. Everybody heard about these people that had this very powerful God, and they were half human too, right? Like all of these giants were like, not through my house. You're not coming through here. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't they spiritually know? But I feel like the human side of them, you know, prideful. So the Israelites came through and just demolished. It was four different giant kings, King of Edom, um, King of Arad, King Og, and King Sion. And if you tribute, a lot of the cohabitating and co-marriage came from Bashan and Amorite land. So it's like this, you know, and you made me think of it. Deuteronomy 23 says the Amorites and the Moabites are not allowed in the temple even after the 10th generation. So that means that it is like basically said in the Bible that some of this stuff can be birthed out. If you hook up with a Jebusite, if you don't do it again, a little ways down the road, that genealogy, that giant gene is going to go away. But then, unfortunately, some of it doesn't. And that's where the secret society and the blood tracking and all that stuff, I think that scripture is showing us both of those. to the point in Nehemiah when they read that and they saw there were Moabites in there, they're like, you got to go, you're not allowed in here. So you can see, and then of course the lion men of Moab. So you can see where I don't feel like it's speculation to say that somebody's going to want to keep that. Somebody's going to want to hold on to that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Mhm.
you can see that going through and just constantly, you know, it's not supposed to do it, but it does it, and then it keeps going through.
Yeah. So the Lion Men of Moab. I've had Joel Thomas on the show once, and
Hmm.
I have him returning next month. But he broke down that concept, that whole idea for us during that episode. I want to revisit it again. So so were these good Nephilim that were, working together with the good forces, right? To battle against wickedness and evil and all that. Because I do consider the idea of good Nephilim. Like I
Hmm.
think that specifically Christ has also said that go out and preach the gospel into all creation, right?
Hmm.
So it's not like all man. I mean, and I think the Bible is pretty perfect. I think it's perfect. I don't
Yeah,
think there's
yeah,
not
yeah,
words in there for no specific reason. Um, so talk to me about that, man. I gotta
yeah.
gotta kind of relearn that one a little bit.
Yeah, so Nephilim for me at this point, with my understanding of how things work, I feel like Nephilim, there's the Nephilim intent and then the Nephilim effects. And I feel like that like literally is the best way to look at that. So the fallen angels came down and they did what they did, but we were told it's tens of thousands of angels. But the evil council was only a few people, right? Like devil, Antichrist, blah, blah. So what about the rest of those tens of thousands of angels? Black and white. Like, how does this thing work? So the my research into all of the people that, as far as I've gotten, like David's mighty men, the judges, like the nitty gritty, it looks like the Nephilim effects are super organic. And it wasn't a good or a bad thing. It was just in your bloodline, and who you are is your deciding factor. I feel like that's kind of just super black and white. So like the lion men of Moab, you got the lion men of Moab who are presented as bad, right? And I'll explain that. But then David has 11 lion faced warriors from Ziklag, or Gadites. Gadites from Ziklag are good. So it's like, well, how does that work? I feel like it is literally, again, just it was in you, but who you are and what you are. So let's break down the linemen of Moab first. And this is my theory. Um, I've said it a few times. I feel like this is again, the best way I can explain it. And it goes back to the word Gadol, great. So Lot is single. Lot's is Abram's nephew. He's single all the way up into Sodom. That's the first time he's mentioned to having a family, kids, and all this stuff. We know the story from there. Angels come down, and it says that they blind everybody, small or great. In Hebrew, that's katan or gadol, everybody's small size or great size. So if we are willing to accept that giants come from Nephilim, the fallen ones, sons of God, that would mean that bloodline was in Sodom, right? The great ones. So then when Lot leaves and his daughters do what they do, the incest, that was enough of a stressor to kick off that animalistic gene to create lion-faced men. That's the best way scientifically that I can see it, just in the Bible, not taking any other books and making it organic. But then the 11 Gadite warriors from Ziklag, it says that they separated themselves from the wilderness to join with David. So what that means is that was packs. There was their group in the wilderness of not good or bad. They were just existing lion men. And that 11 of them were like, oh no, we're digging this dude. We're going to hook up with him. And then became like phenomenal warriors. So, you know what I mean? So it looks like that just at this time, and then plus two, like Isaiah 34:14, it mentions wildcats and the he goats. So it just looks like beyond giants on this planet, openly roaming were half animal people. And it was so common that it wasn't a weird thing. It was just here, and that some of them were good, some of them were bad.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I don't want you to lose your train of thought. But when I think of like lion men, I promise you, I just got this thought, and I think it's perfect, at least in my eyes. Um, are you familiar with, World of Warcraft?
Mhm.
Okay, so though the what are they? The orcs or something? I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
they're
yeah,
called,
them
but yeah,
tusks.
yeah, they have the tusk. They kind of look like lion men in some
Mhm.
sort of way. Um, what's your take real quick? Like, you think the physical features were very pronounced like a lion, or do you okay, all right, I dig that.
So I feel like the Hebrew language is like more descriptive than it is just words. And beyond that, well, plus that, I should say, the Bible's a parable. So I feel like there's some really heavy stuff in there for us to take, to dissect, and just, again, like when we started, how do you get the point of how severe this is without being super gritty? You know what I mean? And I feel like, yes, you have lion-faced people in other parts of the world and other hieroglyphics and other religions and stuff. And that too, it kind of goes back to earlier about when I was talking about the prism and humans and animals being related. You see more in outside of the Bible, you see more people with animal heads than anything else, right? Like we get the Minotaur, we get well, I guess Centaur is the opposite. And then Sair is supposedly a goat from the waist down. Everything else is like an animal head. You know what I mean? So that to me, that's just agreeing with the biblical stories that we have of like,
Right.
they don't want to admit it, but yeah, that's what was on the planet striding around.
Crazy, such a trip, man.
It's
Such a
nuts.
trip.
So the thing
Uh,
about Isaiah 34 is Edom is facing punishment, and it says that when I'm done with you, the only thing left will be this, and it's the wildcats, the Lilith spirit, and the Sair. So again, that and means that they'll be left because they weren't bad. Like Edom was facing judgment, but this wild creatures and stuff, they're just wild creatures. So that still points the picture of just random stuff cruising the world. Like how wild how wild this place really, really looked, and we don't mainstream doesn't tell these stories, and it's really, really disappointing. At this point, it is disappointing. I think we can all agree that we would be hammering so many more. I mean, this would be just boots on the ground if we were actually telling these crazy lion men, lion-faced men. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
I think the biblical movies would be the best ever of this.
that's where I'm trying to get. That's my focus. Like I said, I started with just trying to do content, but I didn't know what I could do or how I could do it. I couldn't do animation at the time. That's what AI is doing for me. I do want to get this to the point where it's actual films, in some fashion, but that's my goal in this. Beyond just sharing it, and telling the stories and all this stuff. I want to put it out there, and I want to like freak people out, and like it sucks like the movies like Noah when they're tiptoeing around the real story and they have such an opportunity to tell a phenomenal story, but they don't because it's Hollywood and they have an agenda. And I don't get into the Chosen and the story of David and stuff like that. I don't have any ill feelings, but I want I want the nitty gritty. I mean, you see, you see.
Yeah, the artwork's awesome, by the way.
I appreciate that. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Five Stones, man, it is bloody. It is a bloody story, in general. But I knew that I needed to tell a really, really strong, to the point, truthful story. And I did. I wanted to grab attention. And one of my motivations on that was like when I was sitting there like trying to figure this thing out, literally what through my head was, well, evil doesn't hold back. You know what I mean? Evil doesn't like, ooh, I shouldn't talk about like no, evil just like full on, here it is in your face. So I'm like, well, I want to kind of do that too. You know what I mean? Like I want to do something that's like good, but like in your face and to the point. So I was like, I feel like you're choosing me for who I am and what I bring to the table. So let's do this thing. And Five Stones, yes, is I started with the Amalekites because I feel like that was something that needed to be cleared up. And I show them they're eating flesh and they're eating humans in Five Stones because they were lickers of blood. They were really bad people, and that's why they had to be rid from the land. They had to die. And I tried to, I mean, that's page one when you get into the story. And then the Five Stones, I wanted to clear that up as well. It's Five Stones on purpose because there were five giants there. It wasn't just Goliath. And it sucks that that's the takeaway. Like, oh, the one giant and the blah blah. It's like, man, his three brothers, three sons and brother were there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah. So Five Stones, man. How I really cut my teeth on this thing was really really gritty, and just to the point. I want to share. I want to really kind of inspire too, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't wasn't the head of Goliath cut off and taken back to Israel,
hmm
right?
So
Um,
it is, but like, and what's really crazy to me, like it is, and that's so wild. But like after that, David's on the run, and he goes to this giant priest Ahimelech, and gets Goliath's sword, and he like that's the only weapon that this shepherd at this point now he's probably tiptoeing on 20-ish, walking around with this gigantic sword, and like killing more giants. So, you know what I mean? Like it's such a wild story. It just keeps going and going and going, how crazy it is. Saul chases David with a giant Edomite, and Doeg the Edomite like demolishes the town of Nob. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like it's
yeah. It's
nuts,
almost like
man.
the inversion of Nimrod, right? If
Yeah.
Nimrod's considered a mighty hunter of men, right, and and
hmm
and killing people of the Setite lineage, it's like God's ultimate counter chess move was with David. David's out killing giants. Um, and that's what I think this whole game is. I think it's just a huge chess game between God and
hmm
Satan and the forces that are with Satan. And I think it's just a big cosmic chess game. I know L.A. Marzulli talks about that concept. And if you look at it from a 30,000-foot view, that is what's going on. You know,
hmm
I mean, even in
Oh,
Revelation, God has the ultimate chess move. I mean, Jesus
mhm.
Christ dying on the cross was the ultimate chess move. It was Satan who possessed Judas to kill or to turn Jesus in so that he would die. So he's Satan's trying to kill God. But that was the checkmate moment of the whole book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. So Bethlehem. That's what I was researching the other day. So Bethlehem is mentioned as Ephrathath, if I'm saying that right, in Genesis, and it's it it it's so far back that in Psalms. So I should say this. I'm gonna get ahead of myself. So da- uh, Jesse, David's father, is an Ephrathite from Bethlehem. Bethlehem. That's too hard of a story to get into right now. It's a very very complex thing. I'm gonna do some videos on it, but nonetheless, before David, before Jesus, Ephrathah is the same as Bethlehem, becomes Bethlehem, and in Psalms it's prophesied that through Ephrathah, through Bethlehem, the Savior will come through. And it was like chess piece from the beginning. It's a chess piece. Like it's just been telling us that through all this, this is what's going to happen. So it's like that story of David. Of course, that's chess piece. And then with the judges too, I argue that's major chess piece because if you look at every single judge story, they were uh they were Gibberim or came from Gibberim to giants or came from giants. and they were all in the right place at the right time. It was not an order of people, you know, you're the next, you're voted in. It was something crazy was happening over here. God tapped this guy. And the way it goes down, like Gideon, the angel goes to Gideon and says, "Oh, Gibor, we're here with you. We're going to use your spirit. Now, oh, mighty man, oh, you know, we're going to use you." Same with Jephthah the Gileadite. Same thing. It even says that he's the son of a harlot, but in Hebrew, it's the son of a Zorah, which is technically a woman that has had relations with somebody she's not supposed to. That's Genesis 6. And he
Right.
even is in his genealogy, but he isn't. Just like Gen 6, where it's like you part of it. So it's like chess piece. God goes down, was like, I got a guy right over here I can use. And they tap him and it happens. So yeah, it's a perfect way to say it. Like it's every single piece, every giant, it even says that the giants will go with the next progression. So Solomon got David's mighty men, and then he got some of David's, this is interesting, he got some of David's princes as well, and his sons. Well, aren't sons princes? So
Mm,
it's like, yeah. So these are all not only. That's why the whole thing with Nephilim is kind of more complex than I guess what we initially thought. At least that's how I look at it. Is because these were people that were not doing anything. They weren't good or bad, but God tapped them, was like, "Hey, I need you because what's in your DNA, and you can
right.
help." You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Yeah. What's your take with the cryptid phenomenon, Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff? I mean, shout out to my boy Doc Brown, right?
yeah, yeah.
He's the author of I'm going mind blank. What is it? It's the
The
Birthright?
Esau,
No,
yeah,
Epic of Esau. There we go. Epic of
epic of
Esau.
Esau.
Yeah, don't kill me for that, Justin. So yeah, he gets into some interesting takes with that, but I wanted to hear,
Mhm.
what do you think about the phenomenon?
So something interesting I saw right before the show was the same verbiage, Sair, in Isaiah 34. Um, uh, Jacob references when he's talking about Esau. When he says, "I'm not a hairy man," it's in Hebrew, it's Ish Sair. I'm not an Ish Sair. I think that's really interesting. That's the same verbiage. And Sair is used a bunch of different times in the Bible, and that's what it talks about as he goat. He goats, not a male goat, a he goat. So I I I believe, for me to believe it, again, I like to do black and white and scientific and all what I can prove. I believe in all that stuff. I really do. It would have to be either remnants, because yeah, I don't believe that it's all died or been killed. It's just not. I just I can't get behind that. So I do believe that if it is true, or if it's around, it is a remnant of Edomites, Amalekites, Edomites, because that's technically where all the beast people come from. Moabites, more lion men. Ammonites, I feel like the description could go with the animalistic, because they're not necessarily giants, but it does reference them as being is talks about the border of the Ammonites are super heavy. So it's like, it's either that, or it's conception rituals and they're bringing them back. And I do 1,000% believe that that is still happening. I think Hollywood is very scary in what they do behind closed doors, and what they haven't really been hiding as much lately. You hear them talking about, eating babies and blood and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I believe in it. It's either just remnants, or it's new new blood. Because it says that that's what's going to happen. Is at the end of the day, what will be left are just the wild beasts. It
Yeah,
says it.
I mean, doesn't it also talk, man, I need to get into the Old Testament a lot more, but doesn't it also kind of talk about, wasn't there like the worship of hairy goats in the desert or something like that? Well, I
Yes,
know, right?
yes.
Something like that. I mean, plus didn't um didn't Jacob put, goat's fur on him? So kind of like maybe there's something there, right?
Oh,
With the Nephilim is what I'm saying.
oh, yes. Oh, so that the goat thing, full on, and I've said from the beginning, you don't use a goat if you're going to trick somebody and to be a hairy person. Like that is a very, very specific detail for us to catch. Because yeah, honestly, you would use sheep or something like that. Like let's be real.
Mhm.
So yes. Also Moses when they come down when he's talking about the goat for the sacrifice in Hebrew it is sair. It's the same verbiage.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed that a lot. So it's like, yeah, it's really crazy to really break down, like Esau and, why the Amalekites were so bad. And just the description of him with being so hairy and the voice and all that stuff. Clear details. Di Brown, 100% nailed it. 100%. I super back how he feels about that of being that's of those tribes, that's exactly where this beastly comes from. 1000%.
Yeah. Which tribe was the biggest giant? Do you have any thoughts with that, or maybe had the most power, dominion, that kind
It
of idea?
seems like it seems like the Amorites. It seems like because Og is an Amorite, Sion's an Amorite, and it seems like they were the main bad guys, and probably not just because they were giants. That just um I kind of associate like Baalbek and all that with them because that's kind of in close to the area. So I feel like there's it was more than just height with them because Jebusites were the worst giants is kind of how they're telling us, but they weren't the I get the way to describe that as how they were in comparison to Israel. I guess is basically to say like how bad they were. And the Amorites were horrible. Jebusites were allowed to stay over and live and cohabitate. And technically, I believe the Ark of the Covenant is buried somewhere around um Ornan the Jebusites threshing floor. So you know what I mean? So it's like it's not just because they were giants, they were bad. Amorites clearly were the biggest and the worst, and then just kind of goes down from there. Seems like it.
Yeah. So the Amalekites, which ones are the long necks? There's the long necks and then the
I
blood
think that's the
lickers.
yeah, I think it's the Amalekites where that's
Okay.
loosely trained. Yeah,
Yes, because there's something so, very. Have you seen the movie Alien Romulus? Or right with the end of the at the end of the movie,
the
like that.
9,000 foot tall weird thing.
Yeah, with a long neck. I mean, it's like they kind of show us these weird, crazy things in movies, man. I mean, to me, when I saw that, I was like, that's a Nephilim. Like 100%, that's a
Mhm.
Nephilim. Maybe, pale, skin, right? Because I've had Paul Stobbs on the show. He kind of goes into his theory of, why clowns are based off of Nephilim, right?
Yeah,
So there's always kind of like some eerie connection with movies, giants, and I mean, even the movie Alien itself is talking about like genetic manipulation and all that
big
kind
time.
of stuff. Uh,
Well,
even
it's
AI's in that one too.
I know it's crazy though. Like to get down to that, like the bad guys, bad guys. The wording is meant for us to break down, and it's telling us why they're bad. You know, what I mean, it's in the name. Like Jebusites are the downtrodden, the troddeners of men. The Girgashites are dwellers in the cakey soil, and the verbiage to grab and to take. So like the Mordors in the movie Time Machine, where they lived on the ground and then they right. So it's telling us who they were, what they were, and why they were so bad in the Bible. It's like the hard part with translation is just like, oh, it's a Jebusite, blah. It's like, no, we're meant to like dissect into this thing. Like the cave of Adullam with the story of David. That's another scale thing. So David goes and hides in the cave of Adullam, but he takes 600 mighty men with him. So like, yeah, must have been a big old cave, man. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then we see, under the ground structures. We've seen all those the ancient cities. What we don't know is in this world, man.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there was groups of people living under the ground, and they were the bad guys.
Yeah. Do you think there are at least hybrids that are underground? These underground cities, these I don't know. I've heard what's her name? Um oh, I'm going mind blank. She was on the Danny Jones podcast. Catherine Fitz. So
Yo,
she talked about breakaway civilizations and
hmm
stuff like this.
dude, I many moons ago, I was in transportation management, and I had over the road drivers. And I sent a guy to, a warehouse in blah. He called me and was like, "Do you know where you're sending me?" I was like, "No, no, I just came up on brokerage, blah." He's like, "I'm gonna send you a video." And it was this monster underground facility, like ridiculous, scary, end of the world underground facility. And it was literally just like an underground warehouse. And then Miss Catherine, as you said, comes out and talks about, millions of dollars for underground.
It's like
Yes.
billions. It's like 20 something $billion, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh."
Yes.
Just to
Yes,
get an
and it
idea of how much money that is, like if you compare it to time, it's like the
well,
it's
then
like the time the earth's been here. I don't know.
yeah, and then you question, like, where does that talk about knowledge, where does that come from to know to do that, to feel safe in that situation? Like, why is that, like, the go-to? And perhaps maybe that's the only thing that we know about, and we don't know about the thousands of underwater facilities that are there. We haven't found out about that because no whistleblowers come out and said it. But yes, 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 1,000%. There's some crazy stuff under the ground, and I think that that's like the abyss. Abyss. I haven't put a lot of research into that yet, just because there's so many people and that's keeping me busy. But I think the abyss literally is the water,
Mhm.
and that's why it said that he everything on land had to die. It didn't say everything, just everything on land. And then that's why the pigs jump into the water. I think all
Yes.
that's right? I think that's all connected, and that's like a weird spiritual safe zone kinda thing. Is stuff that
Yeah.
we don't know about. And I mean, who it could be even to the point where literally there's 30, 40 feet giants chained underground. We don't know.
Right, right. Well, it's so funny you kind of said that because it makes me think of the next question I wanted to talk to you about, and it's where, like, what's your idea of how did Nephilim, you know, the Bible says they were before the flood and after the flood.
Mhm.
What's your take with? Because there's multiple theories. I mean, where I
Mhm.
stand on it is, I think that in Sodom and Gomorrah, maybe there was another incursion there. But what's your take with all that?
I think the Bible says it came from Ham, basically, the Jebusites and Girgashites. Because again, for us to know the full details, we gotta dissect every part of it. And until you research what the actual names mean, it's just a name, right? So when you break it down, you find out that these are the bad guys and they came from Ham. Bible says it plain and simple. And then they are later on all the bad guys that Israel deals with the entire time of the book, all the way up into Nehemiah. You know what I mean? Like the Amorites and Girgashites, Jebusites are always mentioned. But First Corinthians 11:10 mentions women need to have power over their head because of the angels. So it's still happening in First Corinthians. So I don't necessarily get behind multiple incursions. I think it happened in Genesis 6, and whether it kept happening or it was enough, like it, you know what I mean? Like angels are still like Jacob's ladder, like angels coming down freely. Jesus, you know, talked to Satan. You know what I mean? So it, that it's a free path up and down, basically. It came from Ham, but angels are like, where did Shamash come from? right? Where did Baal came from? So the giants clearly are Nephilim bloodline just being passed, but the evil intent I think got in there, and that's what changed things, and that's what made things different. Was just the we need to keep going, and we need this wasn't a good enough because I feel like we can agree that that's what the initial incursion was. I'm gonna get in there and tear it up, but they didn't tear it up. So, you know what I mean? Like they still were here and just trying to kind of, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. That's my feeling on it. Super organic, super natural. Just once it got in the bloodline, it was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Evil's
No.
always been bad.
Yeah. No. And it really can't be stopped until that day of judgment, in my opinion. And I'm wondering if maybe in Revelation, if there's well, we know the locusts come out of the pit and they go out to terrorize a lot of, those that have the mark, right? But God seals his people with, um, you know, I think it's the 144,000 or whatever. Anyways, eschatology gets all over the place. But when I think of the second incursion, I always kind of go back to Jude, and it's kind of talks about those angels that left their heavenly estate and they came down or whatever, and then they are chained in darkness. And then it says, in like manner was Sodom and Gomorrah, having fornication with, uh, I mean, the same gender, strange flesh, and so I think maybe it's also saying, um, that it's possible angels were also in Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, especially with
Mhm.
the story with Lot. I mean, what did the people that wanted to come into Lot's house where the angels were dwelling with him and eating dinner, like they wanted to, it's kind of crazy, when you circle back to that story and you see what they actually wanted to do. They wanted to fornicate with these angels. I mean, because that's a story that goes over people's head until they come back to this idea of them. Yeah, they wanted to have sexual act with these angels. Why? Because I think maybe the same thing might have been going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, or maybe not, and they just knew that this was a part of history and they wanted to recreate history again, if that makes any sense.
It does, and to add to that, like I feel like it's that was way more animalistic than normal, and I think that that's the point behind the aggressiveness of how they were attacking it, and it wasn't it like face value when they read that, it's like, geez, wheeze, you know what I mean? Like just send them out. We want them. Like, was that how things were back then? Like, what is that all about? I don't think it was. I think it was like super animalistic. And then you break down Sodom and Gomorrah, how bad Sodom and Gomorrah was. Even like way before that with the Battle of Five Kings, like all of that was popping off. Like that was giant kings battling bigger giants. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
what was
Genesis
there?
14, right? I think
Hmm.
that's Genesis chapter 14. Okay, because that's a
Hmm.
story I had to like go back and reread a few times. This had to be a couple weeks ago, because I even think it said something where there was even a spirit, right, that was also behind the influence
Hmm.
of the battles, Ashtaroth or something,
Hmm.
or Ashtoreth, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, yeah, Asteroid poles, like that was like the main thing that kept tripping everybody up. That and all those sexual debauchery, which again, like we talked about, I think the point is of more animalistic, not just normal humans and all of those things, like that it just doesn't seem normal. You know what I mean? Like how it was all attacking, and what are they trying to tell us here? Where did that come from?
Yeah, yeah, it's all so, it's wild, man. The Nephilim stuff goes deep, bro. It goes really
Dude,
deep.
it's the entire story. It blew me away when I really, really got into this of like how deep and just how reoccurring. That is literally what happened. That's the whole what the Bible is this happened, and God was just trying to keep humans the entire time of just like, oh my gosh, don't do this, don't do that. Just stay humans. And like why again, political, conspiratory, and all that stuff. Why is government still not a good thing? I think we can all agree that no governments are actually like super good, doing good things. Like it's not built. So, you know, why? And are there patterns of this happening from day one? Well, that's exactly the oppression, the tributary, the forced labor, um, of how what they did to humans. It just shows intent. It completely does. And yeah, the entire story is a Nephilim story. It's so crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Back I wanted to circle back around with your book.
Mhm.
We talked about the five stones being what they resembled and stuff like this. What was the most favorite part of your book?
Oh man, my favorite part. I'll tell you this: the story of doing the book. So, again, this thing just hit me, and I explained it. It was really wild, and it was a leap of faith. Um, I'm just all of a sudden gonna do a graphic novel. You know what I'm saying? And it was hard. I didn't tell anybody at first because it was just a really crazy thing that was like, am I hearing this right? Am I supposed to be doing this? This is a heavy thing to be wrong about. So I just sat on it for a little bit until I was super comfortable. Told my wife about it. Hey, I think I'm supposed to be doing this thing. And she was behind it. And it was crazy. So I I wrote the script. I figured it out how to do it. Wrote the script, try to get it as crazy as possible, based on the true story. And then I worked with an artist because I can't draw like that. I find an artist and he's into it. He's down. And then I wanted to do black and white Sin City, really grippy, visual, but he puts it together. It's black and white. It's missing something. Doesn't have the punch that I want it to have. And I reached out to some colorists, but that was just another cog in the gear. And it's like, and it's just this. So it went through my head, you color it, you paint it. And it's like, okay, all right. I've never done that
Nice.
before. Yeah, never done that
Okay.
before. Um, this is pretty crazy. So far, everything that I bounced off my wife, she was down. She's like, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm support it. I support it. So I told her, I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna paint this thing. She's like, okay, if that you feel like that's something you should do. And I'm laying in bed. I'm like, man, what am I doing, man? What am I doing? I'm gonna do a book. Now I'm gonna paint it. Like, so I closed my eyes. I was like, just make a sound or something, please. Just let me know I'm in the right direction. And I heard, for reference, I could say a trumpet, a really, really loud blast, one note, really deep blast. And it was super spiritual. It went to my core. Like it locked me up. I was just like, "Whoop, yep, yes, sir, 10-4." And it was like in the Bible when people say that they saw the angel and they dropped and they were fearful of dying. I felt that. I felt that like reverence of like, oh, okay, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. My bad. Um, and he knew my heart and that's what I needed. But that right there was literally, and anybody listening that's on the fence about anything, I'm telling you, if you want to talk to God, you can. That's a very, very easy thing to do. It's not easy to listen. It's easy to talk to him. You ask him, he'll reach out. And I needed something. I needed an assurance, and I got it. So the entire time of doing this book and doing these podcasts and going doing these videos and putting myself out there was literally I just keep going back to that trumpet of like I'm supposed to be doing it. He wants me to. I'm doing the right thing. He wants me to do this thing. So that has to be my favorite part of doing the book and everything of just like I don't like to look like a dummy as a normal human. So I don't want to be out there being like doing this thing and it was a calling and I'm wrong. So that was a super awesome like keep going. So that's my
I
one
like
little
it.
thing, man, because that was, yeah, I felt it on the shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, that had to make the experience a little bit more fun for you too, right? Give you more of a connection to what it is you felt called to do, man. I mean, I respond to that well because I've done certain things like that. I'm actually living through one right now at the moment where I'm, going through something, but I felt years ago that God called me and told me to go and to do this. And sometimes you go through the fire, sometimes you don't, right? But this life is full of lessons and trials and tribulations, and I think it's a test because I think God likes to see where we're at, maybe, right? Faith
Mhm.
wise, I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it's something really I have the willpower to question because at the end of the day, I'm a nobody. Like I'm just a human being here. I'm gonna die, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm no God, right? But
Mhm.
there's so many things in the world today that are really pushing people to fall into the idea that they are their own God and they are, you know, uh, the best being that they can be. And I just feel like it's kind of circling back around to what the serpent, lied to Eve about, right? It's like surely you won't die, surely you be as gods, right? So it's kind of like this constant um idea that you have a divine spark in you and you need to reignite it because you are a god or something like that. But I mean, I don't know, and
Dude,
I think it's go ahead.
no, I was gonna go with you, man. Like this thing, we don't realize how spiritual this, and this is something it's on my heart. I'm gonna share it. Um, every single time, I've noticed it now. At first, I didn't know what was going on, and I would succumb to it, and it would kill me. But now, like every time I get ready to do a podcast, the day or two before, if not the day, the morning, whatever, I have some nasty spiritual attacks. Nasty. Like mental stuff. I'm not right. I think about stuff I shouldn't think about. And at first I was like, man, this is hard what I'm doing. And am I doing the right thing? And eventually I realized like, no, it's somebody doesn't want me to do this show. Somebody doesn't want me to say what I'm gonna say tonight or whatever the case. Um, Something too, you'll appreciate this. A lot of times here lately, right before podcast comes on, there's some issue every single time. So,
Always, man. It's always,
dude,
man.
so I'm to the point now where it's like, nah, it's all good. It would have been weird if something didn't happen. And it's crazy because I'm just a human, just following directions, basically. I'm not, an ordained. I didn't go to school for none of this stuff. I'm just doing what I feel like I'm supposed to do. So it is very, 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 very spiritual thing. We know from Job that we are allowed to be tested. Um, God wants to test us. Other people want to test us, and I don't like to give evil a face. So that's why I don't say a name. I'll say other people, and I do that on purpose. But yes, 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 yes. This is a big thing, and I can't stress it enough. If you get an urge, anybody listen, you get an urge, you just go with it. You're gonna get hammered. You're gonna. I go through some nasty stuff, man. There's been times, many, many times through my journey where I'm like, all right. I gave it my best. Let me just pack it up. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing more I could do. Then I think about that trumpet, and it's like, no, no, just keep going. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter if no one watches the videos. Doesn't matter if no one cares. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Just put it out there. So that you know what I'm saying? Like that's just kind of what I've been doing this whole time. Of like, be cool if people dig it, but not really worried about that. Just want to put it out there and yeah, we don't get uh how good that is to follow because somebody needed to hear something. And that's what this whole thing's about, really. You know what I mean? Is like the Bible says, like, don't brag about what you do, brag about what your God does. Brag about what
Yeah.
God does in your life. And
Mhm.
it's literally just, on the back of 5 stones, I put on purpose 1 John 15. It says It's Jesus' command, love each other like I love you. And that's just kind of what a big message that I got in this thing was just we're all in this thing together. And one little thing, we don't think about it, but it's helping somebody else down the road. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And I think we're pulling people to Christ with every episode, whatever it is. We may not see it. Someone may not, write in the comment how much the episode or what you said in that episode, how much it really helped them with their walk with Christ. And I'll tell you what, like I've seen some people share their feelings towards a certain show or maybe something that I said, but it'll be something along the lines where, hey, this show really helped me. I'm not going to sin tonight or something, or even another one, for example, is like, wow, like this show actually is bringing me back to the gospel, right? Because I really feel with all the narratives out there, New Age, Anunnaki, aliens, all this kind of stuff out there, right? I mean, people are getting lost a little bit, or at least they're getting drawn into these seducing spirits and doctrines of devils and false narratives. But God's bringing people back home through shows, right? Through your platform, my platform, other people's platforms out there, whatever way God's doing it, and He's doing it because He's using us, and we are answering the calling.
mhm.
You know, so
Yes. Yes, and in First John, it's I wish I had it. I know it's on one of my notes in here, but in First John, where it mentions, it's talking about the disciples, and he says, "Only those who have been called from God follow me." And right around that time, when it says when the rest of them dispersed, when it was really crazy, except for the 12, because they actually it was calling, not like, "Oh, this dude's cool," I dig what he's saying, and to your point, like with what you do, with what I do, these podcasts, it's like when it's meant, man, you know it, you feel it. And it's like, again, when I mentioned every time where I've gotten my doubts and I'm like, all right, good shot at him. I feel it. It's like, no, 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 no. This is not you. This is bigger than you. And I'll say it because it just makes me feel good. Man, it is so awesome to be used. Like the being that created all of this, it's gonna sound cheesy, I'm sorry, whatever. The being that created all this, like, knows me, knows you, like, wants to, like, hang out with us. I dig that. I dig that, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
that's a big thing to me. Again, like with the trumpet, I keep going back to that, but it's like, you don't in normally circumstance, you get that, and it's just a very powerful feeling. It's wild, and it's a hunger. It really is.
Yeah, man. Nah, amen to all of that, man. And listen, Adam, it's been a really good time, man. This was our first time sitting down with each other, and the first of many. And if you wouldn't mind, please, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here. If there's any positive message you would like to share with the audience,
Mhm.
the floor is yours, man.
Yes. Listening. Listening is the message that's been put on my heart to always relay. Um, God wants to talk to us. He wants us. Literally in the Bible, it says the meaning of life is to walk with God, want to know Him, to multiply and enjoy the earth that I gave you. And I mean, how sweet is that? So he's there, but that's the free will thing, and we gotta respect that. That's a really cool thing of like, I love you so much that I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I want you to just do you, but I want you to want to know me. So he's there. He wants to have a relationship with us. We just have to learn how to listen. And listening is not with our ears. He's going to show us a label, or it'll be a this, or somebody will walk up and say, "Hey, I was thinking about this," and it's literally what you were thinking about. Listening is the important part. Um, it gets us out of our way and puts him in the first right in our direction. So if anything else, we as humans work on listening, and that's I guess that's the name of the game.
I love it, man. I love it, man. And I guarantee my audience in the live chat's going nuts right now. But shout out to them. Hey, shout out to everyone tuning into this show. Adam, please, could you share with the audience one last time where they can check your stuff out and support you the most?
Yes, Five Stones is on Amazon, and I'll get you that link. YouTube, E. Adam Farris. Substack, eadamferris.substack.com, and Instagram, eadamferris. I just try to hammer out content. I'm a super easygoing guy. You got questions, comments, concerns, you can holler at me. I love talking about this stuff. Um, yeah, let's just keep it going.
Awesome, man. Love it, man. Well, hey, I hope to get with you again soon in the future. If not this year, the beginning of next year, we'll set something up, man. The schedule's just been kind of packed. I moved to doing 3 shows a week. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm being called, man. I'm being used. I'm just responding. So I'm just gonna
That's
go with
it.
the flow. You know how it is. But hey, Adam Ferris,
Mhm.
everyone, make sure you go ahead and check out his stuff. Thanks you. Thank you again, brother.
Appreciate it.
Right. Biblical Hitman debrief. Adam Farris in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I feel like my voice sounds a little deep, a little raspy. I was working on the construction site today. Um, Maybe breathed in a little bit of dust. You know, if you like me, you like the show, pray for my health. Okay. Um, much appreciation of that, and much appreciation for Adam coming on the show. That was a pretty engaging, fun, exhilarating conversation with an awesome finish. I like getting spiritual at the end a little bit there, talking about the real stuff. Obviously, the Nephilim, the giants, all of those things are super important as well. And I enjoyed having conversations about those topics because I don't think a lot of people, uh, outside of the circle that I I'm a part of with the podcast and just with the topics of that nature pertaining to um, the Bible. It's not really having people aren't having this conversation in churches really. And listen, and it's nothing. I'm not sitting here going, hey, why aren't the churches talking about this stuff? If you're not talking about, okay, you're not talking about it. If you love Jesus Christ and you believe in him with all your heart, mind, and soul, then okay, cool, man. If you know that you're a sinner and you're in need of a savior, that's the story, man. That's it. That's the main grab right there. You know, that's what it's all about. Um, it's also about Nephilim. Listen, the Nephilim stuff is always intriguing. It's always a lot of fun, right? You get into the Genesis 6 story. The sons of God, right, took themselves wives and had children with them. It's very mildly said of in the Bible to what maybe truly went on, right? Like shout out to Moses for just being pretty calm with how he's writing things in Genesis 6. And the fact that there's a seed war, there's a bloodline war, there is a war against Christ since the beginning. Like this when the serpent you know fears for his life when God is like, you're gonna bruise my heel and I'm gonna crush your head. It's like, whoa, dude. But that's where there's a cosmic chess game, boom, starts right off the bat. And the fact that Cain kills Abel, right? Abel passes away. Adam and Eve have Seth. It still continues. And then you have fallen angels come down, mate with the daughters of Cain. And then all of a sudden, you've got a Nephilim race trying to kill off the Sethites. You've got the Sethites being told not to marry with the other bloodline, specifically because I think genetics had a lot to do with it. I think genetics had so much to do with it. I think the Bible even points that out when it says Noah was perfect in his generations, right? I believe the word's taim, where it means without blemish. It's without, spot. It's without anything that was to tarnish what his makeup was. And why I say it has something to do genetically. It's because We know that there's no man perfect. The Bible like specifically says this, where we've all fallen short of the glory of God. We're all sinners, and we all need a savior from the very first time, right? Like from the very beginning. Okay. You know, E Adam and Eve sinned, meaning we are sinners. Everyone that follows in suit after that is subjected to sin at some point in their life. And it's why we need to understand that, number one, and to understand we need a savior. And our savior is Jesus Christ. It's God. And with that cosmic chess game that was taking place, I love that we went over that in the show. We covered that a little bit. Where if you really zoom out a 30,000-foot view of this whole entire game, everything being played out, there's so much to it. The field is full of so many plays going on, but you can see that it's literally a chess game, a boxing match. It's constant, you know, Satan does something, God does something. Satan does something, God does something, and it's constantly moving. And that's where I kind of said in the show where, I believe Jesus Christ was the ultimate checkmate of the whole thing. The idea where Satan possesses Judas to do what he did to turn in Jesus Christ, then led to his arrest, then led to his persecution, then led to his death. And that was the plan the whole time. And it's so funny how the devil didn't think that way until it was too late, right? Which is amazing, because that's how God is always two steps ahead, right? People always say one step. You know what? He's 30,000 steps ahead. Okay. God always has the one up on everything. And I think that he shows that a lot with not just that specific uh, topic in the Bible, but Jesus walked on water. He's walking over the abyss. He's like showing up the spirits in the abyss. Yeah, you may be doing your thing or whatever, but I have dominion. I triumph over you, right? Like I'm superior. I'm walking on water, right? It's very interesting. Plus, just walking on water is an insane, crazy miracle that was captivating in the moment, and also people were blown away seeing that this is truly God. We got into the Antichrist a little bit. We always kind of get into the Antichrist topic a little bit. I think it's important. I think that at least people in the world today are trying to push towards this idea, and whatever eschatology views you have, that listen, history repeats itself. Okay, people don't like to say history repeats itself, but it repeats itself. Okay, they say, oh, history rhymes. Sure, it's repeating itself. Get over it. It's the same idea. It's the same narrative. It's the same agenda happening again. Different players, different technology, different people contributing to the idea. Same thing. Okay. And I think with the idea of an antichrist, it plays throughout multiple ideas of eschatology. You can think of Satan's little season, which I can't remember who dropped it in the comments, but they also said in one of the comments, I think it was on Christopher Gardner's episode, where pertaining to the little season, that maybe this is how Satan is to go out and to deceive the nations once again. So if he did do it before, he's going to do it again, same ways, pertaining to that eschatology, and the fact that we with people with multiple different ideas of eschatology, understand that there still can be another idea of a mark of a beast. Don't take it, because you don't know for sure where we're at here. Just don't take the mark. All right? Don't do it. I pray to God no one does. But there's going to be people that are going to take it, because I think it's going to have incredible capabilities. I think this mark is going to be able to extend your lifetime. I think it's going to have something to do with making you a god, maybe harnessing an ether energy of some sort, a quintessence, something to where something has to, you know, put you in this state to where you're going to give up your right, you're going to give up your agency, and you're going to give up your willpower to some sort of system. And I think it's important just to kind of cover those concepts right there. Um, don't do it. So, hey, had a lot of fun that episode. The Nephilim stuff is always a lot of fun to get into. The giants, we know giants are real giants. The Smithsonian's hiding the giants. Whenever there's some sort of Paracas skull or some sort of giant bones found, the Smithsonian is getting hold of these things, confiscating them, and doing whatever it is that they're doing with them. Probably dropping them in the abyss or putting them at the bottom of the Vatican, um, in some sort of vault or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe testing them, taking DNA from it, and trying to make super soldiers out of it. Who knows, man? Yo, CRISPR is evil, bro. CRISPR is like, this stuff sounds amazing, by the way, like genetic manipulation and the fact that, we can cure things with DNA now, and we can start at the genetic, makeup where we can uh, fix everything, all the problems in the world. We're just going at the smallest molecular, construct of our creation, uh, and that's where society's going. That's where the future's going. So it's all weird. It's all, it's just all weird. It's super super weird. But hey, listen, I just want to say one thing too. Um, the beard will be shaven. I have work coming up. I was on vacation. I took a very short cruise with the family. While I was on the cruise, it was extremely hard to have fun and to enjoy myself. And it's because I'm going through a lot. Me and my family were going through a tremendous amount of stress um, with our property, our home building, and all of this. And we're switching contractors. We're moving to a different uh, group that's going to take over the project. The group prior to that was extremely, just, I don't know how else to say it. It's just very wicked ideas. You know, I just don't know how people can do other people like that. But with all that said, please just keep my family in your prayers. Pray for us, that we get through this situation. Pray for our health. Our health is also being affected in this whole entire process. Stress can do a lot to the body, and it seems to be taking a toll on everyone's health. And so just keep us in your prayers, and I just pray that God just takes control over this whole thing, maybe eases up off of the gas pedal a little bit, which I do think it's easing up. I think things are starting to switch switch sides here a little bit in a good way. And I'm going to keep doing the podcast. I'm going to keep pushing with the show. I'm going to keep dropping 3 episodes a week at minimum, and we'll see if I can get a fourth in there once in a while. But, I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you, especially for the folks that, you know, are getting through the ad space. Number one, the ads is the best way to support this show. And, working through the ads, I know it sucks, but I deeply appreciate it, and I thank each and every one of you for doing that. It's what not only keeps the show going, but it's what pays the bills as well. And the fact that I'm already out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from this project that I'm involved in with building, it's helping me kind of keep a tight grip on continuing the podcast and keeping it going. The best thing I get out of this is just talking about God, talking about Jesus Christ, the Bible, and all the other fun stuff, that comes with it. And another thing that is the best thing about this is sharing it with the community that likes to listen to what I have to say. So, I appreciate y'all for giving me a chance and continuing to hang on and be supporters. And just have a lot of love for y'all, man. And but hey, if you've stuck around this long, I appreciate you. If you haven't done so and you want to support the show, it's free. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like the show, share it with your friends, and drop a comment about some of the things we got into. I want to hear your perspective and your opinions on things. The best way I can engage with the audience is to comment, and I will work on replying to each and every comment this episode. But if you're not on the video side of things and you want to support what I do and this show on the audio, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and Spotify. I can kindly just advocate that if you like the show, make sure you drop a 5-star review. And again, if you really, really like the show, hit that follow button and hit that notification button because we're dropping episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And that's all I got to say for this episode. I got a lot of love for you. I'm tired. I'm beat up, but I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to see you folks next time. God bless. Bye bye, everybody.